of the type of corporation is closely held corporation. A closely held corporation is a stock is held by only a few people and is not available for sale for the public. The controlling groups or stockholder may be family, a management or group, even the firm's employee. Most smaller corporation fits in this profile.
So do you guys know what is advantages and disadvantages of closely held?
No. I have the advantages of closely held corporation. The first one is control. Because most of the company shares are in the hand of a few people, managers who are also major shareholders have a greater degree of control over the operation of the business and decisions that may affect it. Closely held corporation can often take advantages of statutory closed cooperation rule. While not all states offer corporation the ability to register, as chosen and you choose to register as one, you can obtain many to benefit of incorporation. And the last one of the advantages is election of S corporation tax status. The last one of the advantages is election of the tax as status. Most closely held corporation met Internal Revenue Services condition for electing taxes as an S corporation. Holding S corporation tax status passes through individual shareholders who report it on their personal tax return, thus eliminating that need for the S corporation to file on federal tax return.
So, the disadvantages for closely held corporation is first is raising capital. It is more difficult to use share equity to raise funds, since the share of closely held corporation are not listed on a public stock exchange for investors to purchase. Second is sale of share. Individual shareholders may face difficulty if they wish to dispose of their share in a closely held corporation.
Publicly held corporation. Publicly held corporation is corporation whose shares of stock are held by and are available for purchase to the general public.
So guys, I wonder what's the advantages and disadvantages of publicly held corporation?
As for the advantages, there's three of advantages publicly held corporation. The first one is economies of scale. Since public corporations are generally large, they can benefit from economies of scale, including cheaper pricing and better quality of service. Next is easier planning and coordination. And because public corporations are wholly owned by the government, planning and coordination is easier since the government can take complete control over certain items. And the last one is raising funds through private sourcing. These types of business can also raise funds by issuing bonds. This is where private funding comes in. Public corporations are not required to obtain funds only from government resources.
Disadvantages for publicly held corporation. First is difficult to manage. A public corporation could be difficult to manage as a several meeting might be required with several government officials. Therefore, while decision can be made quickly, the decision-making process can also become quite slow if several staff need to be present for a meeting during strict time schedules. Second is financial burden. If a public corporation suffers a financial loss, the government will provide subsidy to cover such a loss. The more loss that the business incurs, the more money the government will need to spend, which can cause a strain on a government resource. Third is risk of producing inefficient products. Business could also end up producing low quality and overpriced products, particularly because they can't go bankrupt, and there is not enough competition to fully understand the price point and quality. So what about advantages and disadvantages for the S subject, the corporation?
Advantages of S corporation. Number one is protected assets. An S corporation protects the personal asset of its shareholder. Absence an express personal guarantee, a shareholder does not have a personal liability for the business debts and liabilities of the corporation. Number 2 is pass-through taxation. An S corporation does not pay federal taxes at the corporate level. Any business income or loss is passed through to shareholders who report it on their personal income tax returns. This means that business losses can offset other income on the shareholder tax return to reduce income tax paid. Last one is heightened credibility. Operating as an S corporation may help a new business employees credibility with potential customers, employees, vendors, and partners because they see the owners have made a formal commitment to their business.
The first advantage is a calendar year, as S corporation must adopt a calendar year as its tax year unless it can be established a business purpose for having a fiscal year. Second one is taxable fringe benefit. More fringe benefit provided by the corporation are taxable as compensation to employee shareholders who own more than 2% of the corporation. Last but not least is a stock ownership restriction. An S corporation can have only one class of stock, although it can have both voting and non-voting shares. Therefore, there can be different classes of investors who are entitled to different dividend or distribution right. Also, the number of shareholders is limited.